Central.
Kisumu Central.
I'm the next Kisumu Central MP.
MP, oh yeah. So yes, at least all these are aspiring MPs. And we're just considering Sifuna's rise because it remains on the front pages today. Sifuna aharibu hesabu, kurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, and big losers in Sifuna's rise. Many critics are dismissing Sifuna, somebody moto ya makaratasi, something that will fizzle out within the next few weeks. But they've been saying this for months. Do you still believe this is something that will fizzle out in a few months?
I was looking at the headlines and I think it is confusing visibility with inevitability. And so that if somebody is in the headlines, and the headlines looks clearly choreographed, if you've looked at the headlines as they are, before Sifuna rise, they were, propping up Babu. Then all of a sudden, Babu was pushed to the back burner, and Sifuna made the main character in this, media theater that we are now used to. So for me, I think it is still too early to, decide that Sifuna is a factor that is going to determine the next election. And I say this because elections are not determined by headlines. Otherwise, Peter Kenneth would be the president of this country. He was, at some point, most popular on headlines and social media. But when it came to votes, he had nothing. James Orengo was the most popular candidate in 2002 under, Maungano wa Mageuzi. But when the votes were finally counted, he had only 24,000 against Kibaki's over 3 million votes. Politics depend on organization, grassroots organization. I'm yet to see Sifuna convene organize sessions of leadership, of breakaway ODM, if there is any part of ODM that broke out with him. What is the leadership at various levels, including the grassroots that he has organized? Kenya has over 40,000 polling centers. A presidential candidate must have reach in those 40,000 and have an organization that will, ultimately get out votes to his favor. The other thing is that even if Sifuna is to grow, my view is that the victims is the so-called, what the media has christened as united opposition, which has not united, as I've said on this platform before. What I'm seeing in the opposition is just competing ambitions that are united by a desire to defeat William Ruto, but none of them is willing to subordinate their position for the other. The question is, who is going to subordinate his position for Sifuna? But at any point when Sifuna grows, the losers will be Kalonzo Musyoka, will be Gachagua, will be Matiang'i, and all the other candidates in the opposition. So William Ruto remains standing steady as the only, candidate in this election who has, a national coalition to his side that has structures. Both the parties UDA and ODM have structures across the 40,000. Yeah. He remains the only candidate with a governing principle and with a national messaging that actually takes him forward. I see the opposition disaggregating. I see a significant part of the opposition actually running to President William Ruto to find space around him.
And that's what I'm talking about, because talking about Kalonzo, on page 7 of the Standard, they talk about inside Ruto's bid to quote Kalonzo as running mate. Kalonzo has been touted as probably a leading figure in the united opposition, probably for the position of presidential candidate. Do you believe that this has anything to do with the rise of Sifuna? That they feel uncomfortable in the united opposition because of Sifuna's rise and they could find shelter elsewhere?
It would not be strange for Kalonzo to knock President William Ruto's door because that has happened in this country since we started experiencing multi-party politics in 1992, that opposition disintegrates at a certain point, and when it disintegrates, then those who think that they have no space in that side run very quickly to find space within the alternative coalition, which is the President William Ruto's coalition. So there's a lot of activity in the opposition. And this activity is not an activity of coalition building. Rather, it is an activity of various people, exercising their muscles in their areas or perceived areas of strength. So that Sifuna runs to Bungoma, running back to my village to try and show strength in Bungoma. Rigathi Gachagua constantly says the mountain belongs to me. And no one should touch the mountain without talking to me. Matiang'i has been driven to a small corner of Nyamira and probably losing influence even in Kisii. Kalonzo Musyoka is fighting for his life in the Kwambani area, and no one else. So since 2002, critically analyzing the opposition, none of them is growing nationally. Okay? And nationally, a candidate would grow if a candidate is growing in structures, not only rallies on a busy market day, where, rallies are like, a theater, where, after a struggle of the whole day, the members of the public would want to see something exciting, and they will go and watch everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Haji, a clear challenge that he said, and his statements are valid, that for any candidate to even be considered a possible inclusion in a presidential candidate, either number one or number two, that you need structures, grassroots support. As it is currently, Edwin Sifuna is being chased out of ODM. He has no party. Does he have enough time to build those structures for him to be considered to be on a ticket, either as a main candidate or even as a running mate?
Fred, as I started this interview, and we discussed the same where it's not an easy. It's going to be a challenge. We have a tough challenge ahead of us because we have 1 year to election. So definitely the challenge we understand, and it's a prayer of the government that we disunite as the opposition, and this is something that we're very well aware of. That this is our strength. Unity is our strength, and this is the only way that we can be able to come up with the votes required to make sure that we form the next government. So this is something that we know very well from